You've felt it. That pull toward another person that defies logic. The ache when they're absent. The quiet expectation that somehow this one relationship should be everything. We call it love. But here's the strange thing. What we expect love to be, what we feel disappointed by, isn't just personal, it's historical. For over 2,000 years, philosophers, theologians, poets, and psychologists have been arguing about what love is supposed to do. Each era rewrote the story, and we inherited the consequences. The Greeks feared love. The Romans distrusted it. Christianity sanctified it. Mystics dissolved into it. And modern culture asked it to carry the weight of an entire life. If love feels confusing, overwhelming, or impossible, it's not because you're failing. It's because you're living inside a very old idea war. This is the history of that war. And by the end, you won't just have a definition, you'll have a map. We begin in Athens around 400 BCE. The Greeks didn't have one word for love, they had several, each carving out a different territory of human connection. Eros, passionate, consuming, dangerous love, the kind that makes you lose yourself. Named after the god who shoots arrows that override reason, Eros was desire incarnate, sexual, romantic, obsessive. The Greeks understood it as a form of divine madness, beautiful, yes, but also destabilizing. Eros doesn't ask permission, it invades. Philia, the love between friends, between equals. Aristotle considered this the highest form of love because it was based on virtue and mutual respect rather than need or desire. Philia is chosen love. You don't fall into it, you build it, over time, through shared values and experiences. It's love as partnership. Agape, unconditional, selfless love. Love that asks nothing in return. The Greeks saw this as almost divine in nature, a love that transcends personal interest, that gives without calculating. It's love as grace. And then there was Storge, familial love, the bond between parent and child, the affection born from familiarity and care. But it was Plato who gave us one of the most influential theories of love in Western history. In the Symposium, written around 385 BCE, Plato stages a drinking party where each guest must give a speech praising Eros. The climax comes with Socrates, who recounts the teachings of a priestess named Diotima. She describes love as a ladder. You begin with attraction to a beautiful body, pure Eros. But if you're wise, you climb. From one beautiful body to many. From physical beauty to beautiful souls. From beautiful souls to beautiful ideas. And finally, at the top of the ladder, you reach the form of beauty itself. Eternal, unchanging, perfect. Love, for Plato, is ultimately philosophical. It's the soul's yearning for transcendence, for something beyond the physical world. Romantic love is just the first rung. The highest love is love of truth, of the good, of the eternal. This idea that earthly love is a stepping stone to something higher would echo through centuries. We still speak of platonic love, though we've stripped it of its mystical ascent. The Greeks gave us a map of love's territories, but they also gave us a warning. Eros is madness. Passion destabilizes. Love, unchecked, leads to tragedy. When we cross into Rome, love changes shape. The Romans inherited Greek philosophy, but their temperament was different. Rome was an empire built on discipline, duty, and conquest. Love, particularly Eros, was viewed with suspicion. The Stoics, who dominated Roman intellectual life, saw passionate love as a weakness. Seneca warned against it. Epictetus taught detachment. Love makes you vulnerable. It gives another person power over your peace of mind. The Stoic ideal was apatheia, freedom from destructive passions, not coldness, but emotional resilience. Romantic love in this framework was a failure of self-control. Even Roman poetry, which celebrated love beautifully, think Ovid, think Catullus, often portrayed it as torment. Catullus famously wrote, "I hate and I love. Why do I do this, perhaps you ask? I do not know, but I feel it happening, and I am tormented." Love wasn't transcendence, it was chaos. The Roman approach was pragmatic. Marriage was about alliances, property, lineage. Love, if it appeared, was incidental or dangerous. But this Roman skepticism wouldn't last. A new force was rising, one that would radically reframe love. Christianity exploded into the Roman world with a revolutionary claim: God is love. Not God has love or God commands love. God is love. This was radical. The Greeks saw Eros as a god, sure, but a capricious one. The Romans were suspicious of passion. Christianity said, the ultimate reality, the ground of existence itself, is love. And not just any love, agape, unconditional, selfless, sacrificial love. The kind of love that gives without earning, that forgives without condition. God so loved the world that he gave his only Son. This is love as gift, as grace. Early Christians like Paul reframed love entirely. In his first letter to the Corinthians, Paul writes, "Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud." This isn't eros, this isn't passionate longing, this is love as moral action, as endurance, as commitment. Christianity elevated agape above eros. Romantic love was fine, even sacred within marriage, but the highest love was love for God and love for neighbor as an expression of that divine love. St. Augustine, writing in the 4th and 5th centuries, complicated this further. Augustine knew Eros intimately. His confessions are full of sexual guilt and longing, but he argued that all human love is ultimately misdirected divine love. We're restless, he said, because we're trying to love finite things with infinite desire. Our hearts are restless until they rest in you. For Augustine, earthly love fails because we ask it to bear the weight of eternity. Only God can satisfy that hunger. This framework dominated medieval Europe. Love for God was supreme. Romantic love was secondary and often suspect. But this was not the only way love was being reimagined. Meanwhile, in the Islamic world, a parallel conversation was unfolding. Islamic theology, like Christianity, emphasized divine love. The Quran speaks of God's love for humanity and humanity's love for God. But within Islam, a mystical tradition emerged that explored love with breathtaking depth: Sufism. The Sufis took the idea of divine love and made it ecstatic. For them, love wasn't just moral duty, it was intoxication, annihilation, union. The soul's longing for God was described in the language of passionate romance. Al-Ghazali, the 11th century Persian theologian, wrote extensively on love. In his Revival of the Religious Sciences, he argued that love is the heart of spiritual life. You can't command love, he said. It arises spontaneously when you truly know the beloved. And when you know God, his beauty, his perfection, love is inevitable. For some, this love could still be discussed carefully, in treatises and theology. But for others, it demanded a different language altogether. It was the Sufi poets who turned divine love into something unforgettable. And above all of them stands Rumi. Rumi wasn't a philosopher in the technical sense. He didn't write systematic treatises or build arguments step by step. He wrote from experience, from rupture. His life changed completely after meeting the wandering mystic Shams of Tabriz. Their bond was intense, scandalous, transformative, and when Shams disappeared, Rumi's grief became poetry. For Rumi, love isn't something you possess, it's something that undoes you. It breaks the self apart so something larger can speak through you. He writes, "Love is the bridge between you and everything. Not a bridge to God, not a bridge to meaning, the bridge itself." In Rumi's vision, love is the fundamental force of reality. The universe moves because it longs. Planets turn, souls ache, hearts break, all of it driven by a desire to return to its source. Separation is the illusion. Love is what remains when the illusion cracks. This is why Rumi speaks in paradox. Love wounds and heals. It destroys and creates. It burns away identity and reveals what you are beneath it. And unlike Plato's ladder, where you climb away from the body toward abstract perfection, Rumi dives through the body, through longing, through obsession, through heartbreak. The pain isn't a mistake, it's the doorway. Earthly love, for Rumi, isn't something to be discarded, it's training. The beloved's face is not a distraction from God, it's a mirror. What you think you love in them is a glimpse of the infinite. This is why Rumi still speaks to people who don't believe in God at all. You can read him religiously or secularly, mystically or psychologically, and he still works. Because at the center of his thought is a simple, terrifying claim. You are not in control of love. Love is what's happening to you, and if you let it, it will take everything you think you are and give you back something wider, deeper, and far more alive. His contemporary Ibn Arabi went even further, arguing that God reveals himself through beauty, and love is our response to that revelation. To love another person is, at its deepest level, to love God manifesting through them. Sufism didn't reject earthly love, it transfigured it. Romantic longing became a metaphor for spiritual yearning. The beloved's face was a mirror reflecting divine beauty. This wasn't Plato's ladder, where you leave the body behind. This was incarnation, the divine shining through the physical. Back in medieval Europe, something strange was happening. Love was leaving the monastery, but it didn't yet know where to land. It emerged in the 12th century in the courts of southern France. Troubadours sang of noble, unattainable love, a knight devoted to a lady, often married, often above his station. This love was passionate, but chaste. It was longing without fulfillment, desire that ennobles rather than consumes. Courtly love was paradoxical. It celebrated romantic passion, Eros, but made it virtuous by making it impossible. You prove your love by not possessing the beloved. Restraint becomes the ultimate devotion. But what happens to love when it can never touch the ground? This vision reaches its peak in Dante Alighieri, writing in the early 14th century. In The Divine Comedy, love is no longer just an emotion or a temptation. It becomes the engine of spiritual ascent. Dante's love for Beatrice begins in the real world. She was a woman he met in Florence and lost early to death. But in Dante's imagination, she becomes transcendent. In Paradiso, she is not merely his beloved, she is his guide, his teacher, and the mediator of divine grace. This was not the only way love was being understood at the time. One of Dante's closest friends, the poet Guido Cavalcanti, saw love as a purely natural force, rooted in the senses, overwhelming reason, and ultimately destabilizing the soul. Love, in this view, was powerful but blind. Dante breaks sharply with that idea. For him, the beloved does not distract from the divine, she reveals it. To love Beatrice rightly is not to lose oneself, but to be reordered. Her beauty humbles, purifies, and lifts the soul upward. Romantic love becomes a path toward God, not away from him. This was a seismic shift. For the first time in Western thought, romantic love wasn't merely tolerated, it was sanctified. The beloved became a doorway to transcendence. But there's a catch. This vision only works because Beatrice is idealized, distant, perfected, and untouched by the messiness of ordinary life. Real relationships, embodied, reciprocal, imperfect, don't fit this model. And yet, this is the model we inherit. Courtly love, filtered through Dante, gives us one of the most powerful ideas in Western culture, that one perfect person can redeem your life. It also gives us a recipe for disappointment, because no real human being can live up to a role designed to point beyond the human. Fast forward to the 19th century. Love enters a new age. The Romantics elevated passionate love to a supreme value. Poets like Byron and Shelley celebrated intensity over reason, emotion over duty. Love became self-expression, authenticity, individual fulfillment. Love was no longer just one value among many, it became the value, the thing that gives life meaning, the thing worth dying for. This is when we get the modern idea that romantic love should be the center of your life, that finding the one is your ultimate purpose. The Romantics gave us beautiful poetry, but they also gave us impossible expectations. And then came the 20th century. Love enters the laboratory. What the mystics treated as revelation, modernity treated as a problem to be solved. Sigmund Freud, writing in the early 1900s, stripped love of its mysticism. For Freud, love is sublimated sexuality. Eros is libido, biological drive dressed up in poetry. We love because we desire. We idealize because we project. The beloved is a screen onto which we throw our unconscious needs. Romantic love, in Freudian terms, is partly illusion. You don't love the actual person, you love your fantasy of them, shaped by childhood attachments and repressed desires. This was devastating and liberating. Devastating because it demystified love. Liberating because it suggested love could be understood, analyzed, perhaps even healed. Mid-century, attachment theory emerged. Psychologist John Bowlby argued that our capacity for love is shaped in infancy. How we bond with caregivers determines how we bond with romantic partners. Anxious attachment, avoidant attachment, secure attachment, our love patterns are learned. Love became developmental psychology. Then came the existentialists, who had their own take. Jean-Paul Sartre, in Being and Nothingness, described love as impossible. Why? Because love demands that the beloved freely choose to love you. But the moment you try to secure that love, you've destroyed its freedom. Love is contradiction. You want to possess what can only be given freely. Simone de Beauvoir offered a countervision. In The Second Sex and the Ethics of Ambiguity, she argued for authentic love, love between equals, love that doesn't seek to dominate or possess, love that recognizes the other's freedom and supports it. This was revolutionary, love not as fusion, but as two freedoms choosing each other, again and again. By the late 20th century, love was being studied from every angle. Neuroscientists identified brain chemistry, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin. Evolutionary psychologists explained love as a bonding mechanism for raising vulnerable offspring. Sociologists examined how economic systems shape romantic expectations. Love was no longer mystery, it was mechanism. And yet, the mystery remained. Because even if you can map the brain regions that light up when you see your beloved's face, even if you can trace your attachment style to childhood, you still feel it. The ache, the yearning, the irrational certainty that this person matters more than reason can justify. Science explained love, but it couldn't explain it away. Which brings us to now. We live in an age of unprecedented freedom to choose our romantic lives and unprecedented anxiety about whether we're choosing correctly. Love has been gamified. Dating apps reduce potential partners to profiles, swipeable images, optimized bios. We shop for love the way we shop for anything else, scrolling, comparing, discarding. The language of consumer choice has infected romance. Options, the market, settling. Social media adds another layer. We don't just experience our relationships, we curate them. The perfect date photo, the couple's vacation, the engagement announcement designed for maximum likes. Love becomes performance, and the performance shapes the reality. We're also drowning in impossible standards. Romantic comedies, Instagram influencers, algorithmic feeds showing us highlight reels. Everyone else's love looks effortless, passionate, photogenic. Your own relationship, with its mundane arguments and unglamorous Tuesdays, feels insufficient by comparison. The paradox. We have more information about relationships than ever. Relationship podcasts, therapy speak, attachment theory gone mainstream. And yet we're lonelier, more anxious about love, more likely to feel we're doing it wrong. Psychologists speak of the paradox of choice. Too many options leads to paralysis. You can't commit because there might be someone better one swipe away. The grass is always greener because you're always seeing everyone else's grass, filtered and optimized. Alain de Botton, a contemporary philosopher, argues that Romanticism ruined us. We've been sold the idea that the right person will complete us, that true love is effortless, that passion should never fade. And when real relationships fail to live up to this, when love requires work, when desire wanes, when your partner irritates you, we think we've chosen wrong. De Botton suggests we need a more realistic love, one that accepts imperfection, one that sees commitment not as finding the perfect match, but as choosing to build something with a flawed human, as you yourself are flawed. The Greeks knew this. They separated Eros from Philia for a reason. Passion fades, friendship endures. But we've collapsed it all into one demand. Your romantic partner must be your best friend, your sexual obsession, your intellectual equal, your co-parent, your emotional support, your adventure companion. One person, carrying the weight that entire communities used to share. No wonder we're disappointed. So what is love? It's Eros, the madness the Greeks warned about, the pull that defies logic. It's Agape, the grace that gives without earning, the love that holds even when reason says let go. It's Philia, the slow-built trust between equals, the love that survives passion's fade. It's the divine fire the mystics described, and the neurochemical cascade scientists measure. It's the fantasy we project, and the daily choice to stay. Every era has tried to capture it. The Greeks taxonomized it, the Romans feared it, Christians worshipped it, Sufis dissolved into it. The medieval poets idealized it, the Romantics absolutized it, Freud reduced it, the existentialists wrestled with it, and we've monetized it, algorithmized it, performed it for an audience. But beneath all the theories, all the cultural baggage, all the disappointment and hope, love remains. Stubborn, irrational, necessary. Maybe the question isn't, what is love? But what are we asking love to do? Are we asking it to complete us? To prove our worth? To fill the void where community and meaning used to be? Or can we ask it to do something simpler and harder? To connect us, honestly, to another flawed and fragile human trying to make sense of this brief, bewildering existence. The poets and philosophers will keep arguing. The scientists will keep measuring. The apps will keep optimizing. And you'll keep feeling it. That pull toward another person that defies logic. That's love, whatever it is.